to ask questions about how to do something with a wastewater treatment plant wouldn't do me a lot of good because I don't know when it's going to give me accurate or inaccurate information. But talking about finance, you all being experts and being proficient within finance, you're going to know when it's giving the right information, and that's going to help you refine your skills and refine your ability to keep iterating and provide the answers that you need to provide there. So a couple of things here, that we talk about AI tools for finance professionals. Really, if we think about it, when used appropriately, AI can enhance financial management in local government. And we can do this by increasing our efficiency, reducing errors, and improving our decision making. And again, all these AI tools are doing is these are supporting the human-led decision-making processes as well, right? They're not necessarily taking over or anything like that. And so it really is that right human in the loop model, the domain expertise individual who's able to then provide with using AI is able to gain some efficiencies through this. So the next thing too, thinking about this is a couple of things, two really important tools, I think, for AI in government finance. The first one being ChatGPT, and specifically the ChatGPT 4 model, as opposed to just the generic ChatGPT 3 model. And this is because of its ability to create graphs, to do some enhanced data analysis. We can create policies and summarize reports, and then we can actually export those reports into a downloadable Word document, into a PDF, into different formats like that, which I think is very, very useful. The other one that I really like this a lot, and I've learned of this tool from actually my fire chief was the first one that showed me this tool, which is kind of cool, as a Julius AI. And this is an AI tool that's specifically designed for data analysis. And a little thing about Julius AI as well, too, I've been able to talk to the guy who's creating it and the CEO is creating it, and actually able to give him some of the what a typical local government budget form looks like. What, in Arizona, we have our schedules A through G for the Attorney General's office. I'm sure other cities have, and other states have similar requirements when it comes to the budget adoption and budget creation. And actually able to feed him that information, and little by little, he's refining his AI tool to be able to actually be very tailored specifically to local government finance as well, too. So keep an eye out on Julius, and I think you'll have a lot of success and a lot of fun using that tool. So I love this quote by Ronald. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Coase or Coas. It says, if you torture the data enough, it will confess. And so this is kind of my philosophy as it comes to working with data and doing like this. You all in the finance world have a lot more experience and probably don't have to torture the data as much as I do to get the results that you want to get. So, and that's what we're going to do for a little bit here. We're going to spend a couple more minutes here, and we're going to walk through some examples and some prompts, and I want to show you what ChatGPT 4 looks like, what kind of results you can expect from that, and walk you through Julius and see what we can see there. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to stop this screen share, and I'm going to pop over to my ChatGPT screen share. And let's grab it over here. Here we go. So let's see here. I'm going to move this over here so I can see a little better. All right. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to upload a file. When it comes to finance and what important work that finance does, a lot of the important work is helping folks like myself abide by procurement policies, right? I don't know how many times I would guess that you guys get questions a lot about, hey, is this within policy? Can I buy this? What do I need to do for this RFP process? So I've uploaded a procurement policy for a city. I think it's Nacogdoches, Texas. And I'm going to say I am a finance director for this city. And let's say we want to develop a step-by-step training for new managers, or new supervisors coming in, and maybe now they have some kind of budgetary authority to be able to purchase equipment or be able to purchase things, or we're in the process of being able to train them up in how to do proper budget management, and the procurement policy is such an important part of that. So it's going to go through and read this policy, and then it's going to help me develop a training module and a training program that we can then roll out. Maybe it can be a PowerPoint, maybe it could be a video series. There's so many different ways to approach this. But here we have a training policy that we could, our training program that we can have, where we don't just have a policy document. Now we actually have an ability to effectuate and train in that policy and make sure it's really resonating with our staff and with our individuals, because procurement is such an important part within a city government, such an important part of proper budget management, of making sure we're doing things the right way, keeping, that makes our legal team happy, makes our finance team happy, makes the city management happy when we do things the right way. So here we are. It's going to give us kind of a 10-step and really comprehensive training program. And after it's done generating this, we'll kind of go through and look at the different steps here so you can see it. So it goes from introduction to procurement policy, ethics and conflict of interest, legal and statutory requirements, goes into local preference and procurement methods, contract administration, vendor payments and capital assets, practical application, specific policies and IT services and surplus property, looking at inspecting, receiving goods and services, and then review and evaluation. Now, to give you an idea of how this works, you could, if we wanted to, for the sake of time here, I didn't do it this way, but if we wanted to, we could actually take this policy and create a GPT based just on this policy. And then we can send that GPT out to many individuals and have them be able to ask questions against this policy. So we could say here, let's say, okay, so if I want to purchase a new police cruiser that costs around $90,000 all in with the light package and everything else like that goes into it, what do I need to do? And this is where, this is really the power of ChatGPT and these AI models, these questions like this, right? Okay, your police chief comes to you, or your police commander or your fleet manager comes to you and says, okay, we need to purchase 5 police cruisers, or we need to purchase something that's going to cost $50,000 for the span of 5 years. What do I do with that within the procurement policy? And it's actually going to give us a step-by-step guide and what we need to do to manage and make sure we're following the policy correctly, which I think is super, super helpful, especially for those who maybe not as familiar. We're not working in procurement each day, every day. And so this is very, very helpful for us to be able to make sure we're still abiding by city policy. So let's look at these different steps here. So it says, okay, notice that the $90,000 is over the $50,000 threshold within the Nacogdoches procurement policy. So it's going to go through, okay, we need to do some kind of bid process, an advertisement in a local newspaper, even got there that has to run at least a week for 2 consecutive weeks. Talked about the pre-bid and proposal conference, which is optional, the receipt of bids and proposals, the bid opening, the evaluation, the award. Notice that they need to obtain council approval for the purchase as it exceeds the $50,000 threshold, a purchase order and contract, inspection acceptance, and documentation and compliance. So how helpful would this be, for those in other departments who may not know what the ins and outs of the procurement policy might be? Here we have an ability to help them out and get them information that they need. And that way everyone is aligned to the same mission. Everyone's following the same policy, which I think is very super, super helpful. So let's do something else here too. I'm going to grab a new chat here, and I'm going to open up a document here, and let's see if I can find this here. Let's look at right here. Now, a lot of the data that I'm going to look at specifically is actually from the state of Arizona, where I happen to live and work. So just because of familiarity with the different budget forms and how things are structured and things like that. So very similar, I'm sure, in other states as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to ask it to write a GFOA style budget memo for this budget. And we're going to ask it to focus on page 1 of this document. Now, for reference, this is just the official budget forms, right? See if I don't know if I can pull up here and show, but I have to do a different screen share, so I won't do that for now. But literally, this is just schedules A through G. If you're familiar with the Arizona budgeting process, just your generic budget forms, the Excel spreadsheet kind of thing, nothing fancy, just the very basics of what cities would submit to the Attorney General's office for budgeting purposes. So I just give that for context to let you know that there's no extra, there's no, it's all numbers, right, in this budget. There's no context of anything at all. So we're going to look at this, and here we go. It's going to give us this budget here, this budget memo, because normally times we develop a budget, we have the memo to the council explaining what's in the budget, highlighting certain things. And I just had it highlight page 1 just for the sake of refinement. Obviously, if you had other things you want to focus on, maybe you had a really awesome capital improvement project you wanted to do. Maybe you want to focus on how your revenues are outpacing your expenditures in a certain way. And so you can do different things with that. So here it's going to pull out some cool information from the city of Bullhead, look at that, and write a really comprehensive budget memo. Now, obviously, we're going to want to maybe do some refinement to this. This might not be a first draft, first go kind of thing. We're going to want to do some iteration, and maybe want to make sure, double check that the numbers are correct, double check that the information is accurate and represents the city in the best possible light. So here's the memo, and let's try this here. Let's do it. Let's take a step further here. And we're going to do, so in the city of Bullhead is my colleague, Toby Cotter, a wonderful city manager out there in Bullhead City. And so I'm also going to attach the logo and the seal of the city of Bullhead. And what we're going to do here is we're going to download this. We're going to create the memo again with this header, and then we're going to download that as a Word document. And you can download as a PDF. I always like doing a Word document because then we can actually do some editing, refining within the Word document a little easier. And so if I want to change a word here or there, or if I want to update a number or something like that, I can do that a little easier within the Word document as opposed to in a PDF. So it's going to analyze and get that and create that memo for us. It's going to put it into a Word document, and then we can take a look at that and see what that says here. It's almost done analyzing. While we wait for that to finish analyzing, let's hop over to Julius. We'll come back here, but our next couple examples are going to be in this Julius AI. So Julius, you just put in Julius AI. Here we go. You click on there, and you can sign in. You can log in or create an account with just an email and password. I've created my account through my Google account, and here we are. That's how easy it is to get started with Julius AI. So hopefully people took lots of notes for all the complications that was to get started, right? No, it's just super, super simple. And so we'll get back in there here in a second and look at some information and how we can leverage Julius AI within this. So it's still downloading, giving it some time here. While we're waiting for this here to finish downloading this and creating this here. Oh, looks like it stopped analyzing. Let's see if we are in luck here. See here. I think it might be teasing me. Okay, yes, it did. For a second, I thought maybe it was going to fail on me for a second there. All right, so let's look at this budget document here. And here it is, the budget memo. We can open this up. And I'm going to switch my share screen for 1 second because I want you all to see this. I think this is really, really cool, and I want you all to see what this looks like here. So I'm going to stop the screen share, pop over back to the Word document, because I think this is just incredible how ChatGPT does this. So here we are. Here is the memo. Here's the logo embedded right there within the memo. Here we have it put together for us. And obviously I can go through, I can change things out. I can put a signature on here, different things like that. So to me, it's just a really, really cool feature of ChatGPT and how we can do that. So let me grab over to our Julius model once again here, and we'll have some fun learning how to use Julius AI. Okay, so here we are within this, within Julius. So what we're going to do here is we are going to grab a couple of files worth of state shared revenue reports from the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. And these all come in PDFs. Just for the sake of clarity, what I did with this was I just organized some pages and took out some of the images and headers. Sometimes AI models have trouble when you have a PDF that's a bunch of images in it and not just the data. And so I wanted to just really focus on the data for the sake of speed and refinement within these demonstrations. But all from the state league here. We're going to grab these state shared revenue folders here, and it's going to upload these different documents. And so you can see this is from FY21 through FY24. And the first thing I'm going to have it do is I'm just going to have it review the documents. To me, when I'm dealing with large sets of data, I like just to say, okay, just get like a once of the world review of this, so kind of a 50,000 foot view of what these documents are. And then I begin the conversation and start refining exactly what I want from the AI model after I go through the process of just saying, let's just review this real quick. Okay, so it's all going through here. We see that shared revenue, FY21 shared revenue document, talk about the total shared revenue, income tax, sales tax, vehicle license tax, Highway User Revenue Fund. You might hear me refer that to as HERF as the acronym there. And so it's going to go through and look at that, right? So let's look at here. And what I want to do is I want to have it break down all these different forms of state shared revenue for a specific city or town in Arizona. And so I'm asking if we can do that. And then we're going to go in and actually look at a specific city. But first, to make sure it has the capability to be able to do that and see all the different cities it can do. And so let's see. It goes, ask me for the specific city. Let's look specifically at Chino Valley. And I want to see this trends in state shared revenue for each category across the years. And so it's going to do is going to look at this and hopefully be able to provide the trends for Chino Valley up there in the in northern Arizona, or it's north central Arizona. What you also can see here too is you can actually see the Python code that it's creating to be able to do this, which I think is really cool that you can actually see it. And if you know Python or have any experience in writing code, that can be super helpful for that. So it's going to look at extracting the data for Chino Valley from each fiscal year document. It's going to go through, probably provide me with some numbers here. And then we're going to ask it to provide a graph for us based on that data and based on that information. So I couldn't find Chino Valley on the first couple PDF pages here. It's going to analyze some other ways to kind of go about the business. And this is another cool thing about these AI models is when it runs into an error, it doesn't just stop there. It actually says, okay, let me try something else again. Let me try a different approach. Let me try a different way of analysis, which I really appreciate that because I would be lost if I had explained to it exactly where the code went wrong or what to do differently. So it's very intuitive in a way that I definitely appreciate there. So here we go. It found the information, looks like, so it's going to go through and get the Chino Valley for FY21. It's been correctly formatted. Here we go. Here's FY21. It's going to do the same thing for FY22, 23, and 24. And this is something else too that I like about Julia specifically is it first starts with one. So if we have 4 different PDFs were basically all the same, all state shared revenue forms, right? And it recognized that. And instead of trying to do the same thing across all 4 documents, it tried with the first one right away, refined its approach, and found its success, and then went through and is doing that in all the other for the remaining 3 documents as well. Instead of other models, sometimes we'll just try to do the same thing across all 4 and then get overwhelmed. And so this is a really cool feature within Julius here. And so let's proceed with extracting and formatting the data for 23 and 24, because I do want to build up this graph of what this looks like over the 4-year period. It can be very helpful to see this, kind of see, okay, what does it look like for Chino Valley here? So it's going to pull this through here. It's going to go through and look at state shared revenue for 23. And really, if we think about this, right, we have within our finance teams, we have some really, really great finance professionals in local government. So I know in the city of Maricopa, we have some wonderful people that work in finance and just some brilliant, brilliant people here. We also have brilliant people that work with data as well, but it's not often that we can combine the power of an expert financial analyst or finance director with the power of an awesome data analyst. And that's what Julia is. That's what ChatGPT does for us, which it just, I mean, think about what that can do for local government, the efficiencies that can be gained, the insights that can be gained, be able to do deep dives on our own data, on our financial reports, on our financial audits. I mean, we could even, in a way, we could audit our financial reports before we have an official audit, and that way we can kind of stay ahead of the curve and stay ahead of the game, and making sure we're looking at that and looking at the different findings or things like that that we can address before an official audit. So here we go. Let's move on to the trend analysis now. It's got all the data, so we can see. While it's working here, let's look at what we find. So it looks like in FY21, population of 12,000. Oh, kind of jump down here. I'll wait for a second for it to finish up here, and then we'll do that. And sure enough, here's the graph here that we're seeing within Chino Valley here. So let me go ahead here, and we can increase this graph. And so we can see vehicle license tax. We can see how HERF comes up. We can look at sales tax. We can also do here too is we can edit this graph. So we can do this. This is, to me, just a really, really fun feature. So let's say that we want to change the title from Chino Valley to Chino Valley AZ. I'm going to change the y-axis to state shared revenue. I'll save it. And here we go. Let's see if it's try this one more time. Looks like it didn't click at all. Try this again. This is why within using AI models, we want to continue being patient, keep refining until we get our intended result here. I'm gonna try this again. Let's save this. There we go. Now we have Chino Valley AZ. And let's say also we want to say, do you know what? I don't want the color of income tax to be red. I want the color to be, let's say, purple. And so we can do here, we can say, change the color of income tax from red to purple. So it's going to retrieve the graph editor. And there we have it. Now we have income tax as purple there on the line. So super awesome. And let's try one more thing here too. Let's also look at this here. See if I can do this. Let's say, please look at how Chino Valley compares to other area cities and towns. Look specifically at FY24. I'm just doing FY24 for the sake of time. That way we don't have to wait for another a while for it to look at all the years of data. Obviously, if I was wanted to do this as a 5-year comparison trend, I would maybe want to look at how other cities are comparing across all fiscal years. But for the sake of time, we'll just look at FY24. And so it's going to look through here. It's actually for some sources here. And I want to make sure the source is specifically this FY24 shared revenue. And so I'm going to say, please use this as the source. So let's see what we can do here. Look at this as the source of information to be able to see what it's going to pull out. And what I noticed within this, again, this is an AI model. So we're going to see is, does it have the ability to identify what are the neighboring cities by Chino Valley? What are the comparable cities that we should look at? And so it's going to look at some comparisons here. It's going to look at population size here. And so we can say is, let's look at smaller towns with revenues and comparable to Chino Valley include Clarkdale, Eloy, and Holbrook. And so we can say here is, can we graph the state shared revenue for, I'm just going to copy this and say Chino Valley, Clarkdale, Eloy, and Holbrook. So here, we're going to get rid of these numbers because I don't want to preload it with anything. And Holbrook. And we're going to go here and see if we can graph this out and what we can do within this this Julius AI. So again, it's going to generate the Python code for us. It's going to look over it. Another thing too is you can do different types of graphs with this. I'm guessing maybe in this situation we'll have a line graph of some sort, but we can create bar charts. We could create a pie chart, something called a violin chart. I don't know what that exactly means, but there's all kinds of charts. I'm learning as I've learned and used this tool, this Julius tool. I've learned of so many different chart solutions that are out there that I just didn't even know existed. And so here we go. It looks at the state shared revenue comparison. This is total state shared revenue looks like across Chino Valley, Clarkdale, Eloy, and Holbrook. Obviously, if you want to go deeper into the information, we could also say, let's break this down by type. And so we could say for Chino Valley, give me a graph that breaks down state shared revenue by type. So I'll give example, vehicle license tax, HERF, income tax, etc. Make it a combined bar chart. I just want to make a combined bar chart that we can kind of see the different steps there, give it some parameters. Obviously, the model could recommend something to me as well, too, if we wanted to go a different direction. So this will kind of be our final example here. Is it's going to generate this. It just super helpful. You can do very, very similar things. Like everything we just did in Julius, just for context, we can do within ChatGPT as well. I just like Julius gets more refined for it. It's kind of the idea of using a screwdriver instead of a nail kind of idea. Then you can use a hammer, or rather using a screwdriver instead of a hammer. You can use a hammer to pound in a nail. It's just not going to be as effective as using a screwdriver, right? So that's why I like Julius as kind of the right tool for the right job. And when we're using these different AI tools, it's important to know that there are many options and picking the option that best serves what you want to get done here. It looked like I got confused with the bar chart here. We'll leave it be for now. We'll let it slide for now. But again, you can see how we are able to break down these different information. We could even go through and edit graph. Let's do one thing here because I think this is going to be important. Let's say add data labels. Try this again. There we go. Hopefully it's going to go through and add data labels. And there we go. Here we have it, right? There's our data labels. And so now we can have it. Maybe we want a different color scheme, or maybe I do like that color scheme if we're going within the pastel color range. So I'm going to turn things back over to Krissa and Mike. Thank you so much for taking some time. I love these tools. I think these are awesome ways to augment what we're doing within public finance. And again, you guys are the experts. You know what public finance is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to be, how it supports the city mission. And so hopefully these are tools that help you be more successful as you provide excellent services and keep us all in line with finance.
Man, thank you, Micah. What a fascinating presentation. And, I just continue to be amazed at every time, the next month rolls around. It seems like AI has gotten better, is more useful. And this is really, really great stuff. And I love the kind of the micro learning aspect. We're leaning into that hard at SGR, going to be using AI to help create micro learning experiences for local government employees all over the country. And you just gave a great example of that. So thank you. We got some questions, and I want to start off, and then Krissa, you can share some also. And if you're listening and you want to use the chat or the Q&A feature to share a question, then we'll try to get to it. But one question we have is, and I think you touched on this, but can we use a tool like Julius AI or other tool to create an Excel table with current year and prior year revenues? That's quite possible, right?
Absolutely. Yes. We could go in there. And so, in the same way that we basically created a graph for that information, I could have asked it to create a table for that information. And so, the same thing. And then within ChatGPT, we could even, I believe, not, I'll double check this, but if someone might want to test this out, we even might be able to download the information as an Excel file as well, too. So, there's many different ways that we can approach this and get solutions for tables.
Okay. Another question that came up that I think, we always hear some concerns about this, and that is like if you download into Julius city information, does it get uploaded to open source so that it's available for anyone to access, or does that remain private to you? How does that work?
So I'm always under the assumption that the data is not protected. And so every example I gave there was using open source information. These are budget forms that are already previously published. And so one of the ways I use this within kind of finance areas is I take in maybe the last 5 years of existing budget documents that are published and then use that to forecast and build my model separately on my desktop or in my own cloud-based storage. And so I'm very careful not to put any data that's not already published into an AI model. And I would recommend the same thing.
Right. So that's an area just to be very conscientious about. If it's already public, it's already public, but don't make something public that isn't. Okay. Another question. You were downloading PDF documents. You could also use other documents, Excel, Word, those you're not confined to a PDF for these.
Correct. And if you remember the example with the image that I did, I took a JPEG, I think it was a PNG file, and uploaded that as well too. There are some limitations what type of files can be supported, but it's a very wide, broad array of different document types that can be uploaded and discussed within a ChatGPT or within a Julius model. For Julius, it's very structured. You really want to have either a PDF or an Excel file or something like that. I'd be careful about putting in a Word document or something like that within Julius, but ChatGPT is much more comprehensive. It can do a lot with those different files. And Mike, I apologize. I misheard the last thing. I couldn't quite hear you. Was there a final question there?
I was asking Krista if we have some more.
Okay.
Sorry. I think maybe we had a little glitch, Mike, because I was in the same boat. So
Okay.
I apologize. I'm not ignoring you. So I'm actually just curious. Well, let's see. Wait, we got another question here. When you ask Julius to summarize a book, can you ask on how many sheets to summarize it?
Yes, we could do that. We could ask how many sheets are in this book. I think for that kind of question, again, going back to the idea of the right tool for the right job, for something like if I just want to know the basic content of the information, how many pages, what the overview of this information is, I would use a Claude or a ChatGPT for something like that, as opposed to Julius. I'm really using Julius when I'm getting down to the nitty gritty of data analysis and creating graphs and visualizations and things like that.
The question I think I would like to ask the most is to our attendees today and see who is using things like this already and how you're using it. And I would say feel free to, unmute yourself and or turn on your video or put it in the chat, but I'd like to hear some examples from our attendees today.
I think they can use the chat. I'm not sure they can unmute themselves, but while they're doing that, here's another question that came in, Micah. What's your advice when we're using these kind of tools for public finance and presenting that data, maybe to council or at a public meeting? What are the caveats that you would recommend? Is
that just me?
No, it's me too.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I got the question, Mike. What are the caveats to put on if we're using AI as an analysis tool? And I would say just have a heightened view of responsibility and accountability with the data that we're presenting to council. I think that should be the same regardless of whether an AI is generating the content or if a human being is generated the content as well. And so just having to be able to say, okay, this information is accurate. And so the same thing that we do with human generated content in terms of verifying, making sure it's accurate, double checking with staff, I would do the exact same thing when it comes to models that are assisted through AI or AI generated data analysis as well. Just have a heightened view of accuracy within data all across the board.
Yes, very good. Halson, any questions that you have for Micah as you've been listening from your strategic foresight lens?
Appreciate the space. Yeah, I'm one thing I was curious about is like, how do you see the role of expertise changing as, things like data analysis are like, we don't need to have a person do it as often. They're still valuable, right? But we can now use tools like Julius, right tool for the right job. So how do you see the role of expertise like data and like analysts changing as these tools begin to emerge and be able to be more accessible to anyone?
I think it's a great question, Austin. I mean, it's kind of a fun wild west right now as we kind of figure out what that looks like. I think if I were to offer any type of perspective on that, it would be we're always going to need some kind of domain level expertise when it comes to the different functional areas of government. But what we might see is less of a generalization within data analysis per se. And so instead of just a data analyst as an expertise, now it's getting refined as finance data expertise or operational data or strategic data and specific to maybe finance, specific to the police department, specific to fire, specific to economic development, to wastewater treatment plants. And so I think we might see more of a refinement in that. Instead of a general data analyst, we're going to need more expertise within the different functional areas of local government. And really, we're seeing that, Hassan, too, within local government, right? How much will we be seeing the embedding of business analysts within a department, within fire, police, all these different departments to provide the tools and resources to be able to do proper budgeting, proper analysis and forecasting across the department. So we're already kind of seeing that trend happen within local government. And I wonder if simply AI is going to help us get there a little faster than maybe we anticipated.
Well, Micah, thank you so much. As always, this has been great. Can't wait for May to get here and to hear your next webinar. And again, I want to say if you want to watch this again, it will be posted to the SGR YouTube channel, and you will also receive a link to that and opportunity to sign up for future webinars, including next week's, which is our own Randy Mayu doing an executive book briefing on the book Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. Adam's a fantastic author, and Hidden Potential is another jewel of a book, and you will enjoy hearing Randy present it. So hopefully you can join us next time. And we thank you again, Micah, for being here. Thank you, Halson and Krissa, Lisa Shook, who works in behind the scenes to make all of this happen. And thank you for joining us. And I hope you have a great day. Hope you're able to make great use of AI and you keep on serving people with a great heart like you do all the time. Have a great day. We'll talk to you down the road.